At Hero, hey, unfortunately your job isn't done. See you in the next video, comrade. Alright, someone cue that CJ clip. Alright, so as you know, this is going to be an update to that ongoing situation with Scooby Doo Springtrapped, which looks like it concluded yesterday, but turns out it didn't because Grey DeLisle has actually responded with a number of responses. So, take a look at that in this video. And thank you for tuning in to my ongoing coverage of this situation. Hope you've been enjoying it, and consider liking or subscribing if you have, as I cover things like this every day. So the situation where we left off. We had the fan project, Scooby Doo Springtrapped, with now well over 1 million views on YouTube. Universally well received for the most part, but getting backlash in certain spaces on Twitter/X, where some people didn't like that he used a few AI voices in the video. Despite the fact that the video is like a 10-minute long Blender animation and not all the voices are AI and there's only a few that are, some people still really hate him and hate the video because of that. Now, the situation got crazier when Jay Lender tagged Mindy Kaling, and also Grey DeLisle, voice of Daphne, basically accusing Egan of stealing, of being a thief, of like ruining the assets of these voice actors and things like that. However, he later walked that all back, it seems, deleted pretty much all his tweets and apologized to Egan. However, as you know, Grey DeLisle has finally responded to this situation as well. A number of tweets, which as mentioned, we'll go over in this video, and her approach to handling this has been quite a bit different. It's also important to take note that even a lot of the people who somewhat agree with her, and I say somewhat because depending on the person, this will fluctuate. For example, some people may agree with everything that she said. Some people may agree with only like 10% of what she said. But the point I'm getting at here is even among the people who somewhat or entirely agree with her, it seems like the general consensus from that group of people is that she is still handling this really bad. And she's displaying way too much vitriol and animosity towards this young animator. And I know we have kind of a long intro here. It's just a lot to talk about. So thank you for your understanding and patience. There's another thing I want to mention for anyone who may be new to discussions regarding English voice actors. It's also important to know that there's a lot of precedent in the anime community, gaming community, whatever, spaces that deal with voice actors quite often. A lot of people who have been in these spaces for a while have a general distaste towards English voice actors for the way they have treated people in the past over the years. Now, there's plenty of English VAs who are awesome and cool, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's like all of them, but a number of English VAs have displayed really abhorrent behavior, so there is a general distaste towards the English VA industry in a lot of like anime and gaming spaces. And this sort of thing only expatiates on that. And finally, other people have also found some things about Grey, and they're saying that she's a complete hypocrite for the things that she said about Egan, given things that she's actually done. Basically saying that she holds people to standards that she herself doesn't even live by. So that's an overview of the situation so far, as well as some of the stuff we'll be talking about in this segment. So now let's pull up the tweets themselves or whatever. All right, let's take a look. The prior last statement from Grey read, "I will never ever work for this person, and I am sharing their name with every voice actor I know." And 14 hours ago, she added this one. First off, the context, Egan saying, "Hey Grey, I just wanted to apologize personally. I'm just a 23-year-old kid who appreciated the show you were a part of and wanted to bring some of the joy it brought me back into the world." Now, there were other things Egan said as well, but we already read all that. I don't want to recap everything, so let's get to her response. She says, "Egan, thank you for apologizing. I hope you will remove the stolen voices and hire some non-union folks who would jump at the chance to get some experience and something for their demo. Theft is wrong, but I forgive you if you do the right thing." I forgive you if you do the right thing. However, as many people have pointed out, if he hired non-union folks, then people like Grey would probably just turn around and call him a scab, and they would still hate him. Another response from Grey DeLisle here, and we got Jay Lender there as well. I guess there's one of the tweets he didn't delete. But anyways, so Grey says in response to Misery here, who says, "Grey, I'm a huge fan and I understand why you're upset, but given your platform, you could have handled this so much better. This is one independent artist not even professionally making things for profit. You're valid in decrying AI, but it didn't need to come to this." Grey saying, "I don't work for thieves. This was completely out of line. If the person removes the voices they stole, I will forgive them, but theft is theft no matter their explanation. My response was completely reasonable." Now we have to take a look at this standalone tweet she made, which reads, "Stealing someone's art for your own recognition and profit is wrong. Period. It's unbelievable to me that folks are mad at me for being angry that my voice was stolen without consent. Wow." And this response from Mr. Venom that says, "I thought the original voice in the video was based off the 60s version, not yours." And she says, "It was, but that's still wrong. I was too upset to watch it, so it took a while for me to figure that out. My stance has not changed though." Responses include people saying things like, so your voice wasn't even stolen? So your voice wasn't even stolen then. Good job. And that's why people are mad at you. You are an absolutely awful human being. However, other people say things like, I understand completely, my dear. I know how you feel. As well as, if the actress said no, then no means no. Someone else saying, but she isn't the actress though? Unless I'm missing something here. And this response saying, you're not. However, to be fair, this does get a little more complicated because in the video itself of Springtrapped, the credits do include Daphne as AI Grey DeLisle. Now I'm saying their name wrong too, excuse me. Egan and me both just butchered her name right there because there's a typo and my pronunciation. I think it should say Grey and it would be DeLisle, right? Okay, so based off that, I think some people could probably make some decent arguments in their respective ways on this point of contention, so to speak. So we'll just move on to the next point. Other responses from Grey in this situation include this one. First off the context, trans saying you have a right to be angry about having your voice being potentially stolen. That said, immediately blacklisting someone without seeing their reasons for it was a bit much. Grey saying he posted in the video why he was doing it and said it was perfectly legal, which it was not. We have come to an understanding now, but at first it was a slap in the face. And by the way, that whole like came to an understanding thing doesn't seem like that's the case based off some other responses we'll take a look at and something Egan says, which is arguably a great point. But like I said, we'll get to that in a minute. Let's check out this exchange too first. Dr. Awesome saying, Grey, they did it as a fun project. The fact you're doubling down on this and trying to get a guy blacklisted for a non-profit project is insane. If anything, this is just painting you in a bad light. Grey says, stealing is not fun for the person who was violated. Dr. Awesome says, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you, but there's a big difference between using your voice for a fun video that he's not profiting off of and someone stealing your voice to advertise a product or paint you in a bad light. You're not the good one in the situation, Grey. Sorry. Grey saying, he put it on YouTube and has gained recognition and followers from theft. I've done free voice work for students in the past just as long as it's not going out to the public. I am not the villain here. Dr. Awesome saying he gained attention for the fact that the video was just cool. You're the one who spun it about him stealing your voice. I'm sure if he knew you would have done it for free, it would have been a different story. But you're acting like he's malicious and knew the entire time. And then Grey just says, I'm blocking you. Sorry. And people in the responses there not really having that take, that approach by Grey. And remember that tweet she made from like 13 hours ago that said she worked everything out with Egan or something? And I mentioned it doesn't seem like that's really the case. Allow me to now present to you a tweet from Egan from just a few hours ago. So about 10 hours after she made that other tweet saying that they worked it out or whatever. Egan himself says, hey Grey, I was just wondering how much you paid this guy on Pinterest for the art to promote your single. In response to a tweet from Grey from July 8th here, where she says, brand new single out today produced by Marvin, this person, and then linking to this link where it looks like you can actually like buy the song. Egan adding this, saying, I'm genuinely curious because this looks very rules for thee, not for me. And although my project was completely non-profit, I can't say the same about your single. Also, everyone, I'm not trying to be mean-spirited, but stuff like this is like adding salt to a wound. I don't want to resort to being cruel, but I just don't think it's cool this gets a pass. It's hypocritical. I mean, it looks like all these photos are just ripped from Pinterest, which makes me doubt any effort to pay or even credit anyone was made. She bullied the little guy because it was easy, when she was doing the same thing, and what's worse is she's profiting from it. That's not cool. Yeah, if all that is true, I think that's a great point by Egan, and it points out some very, very impressive hypocrisy by Grey there. And if you've followed my channel for even a little while, you know I love covering stuff like that. Pathetic armchair activist stuff on social media where they try and be like Twitter cops and stuff, policing other people's behavior, but then they don't even live by the standards that they police other people with. It's so hypocritical and pathetic. Now, of course, all that said, there's a chance Grey did like pay for all that art and stuff, although it seems unlikely, but you know, I'm not gonna say it's like impossible, so I'll keep that accounted for. Other people also adding on to that, man, Grey really got herself into a mess here. Says the Samus one at 4 seconds in like her little, you know, promo for her song or whatever is by this guy, and I don't think this was done with permission either. And then this other person's like, this art also has a tag specifying not to use it for commercial purposes, so even if she paid for it, she still went against the artist's wishes. Hey, you can't use an AI version of my voice that may not even actually be my voice in like the older version, but hey, you can't do that. You're a thief. You got to get blacklisted and canceled. But I'm gonna take this art, use it for my song that I'm trying to sell, and I'm not gonna credit them or pay for it or anything. Like, dude, what? Again, if that's really how it went down, that's so crazy. And I'm not surprised because that sort of like Twitter cop hypocrisy is so prevalent. On a final note, just to kind of like ramble here at the end, like there's also a precedent of industry types like Hollywood corpos and all that just hating indie people and like people on YouTube and stuff in general. And this goes back a long time. Like you might remember even like, I don't know, 5-6 years ago or something, there were all these mainstream news articles coming out about how bad YouTube is as a platform and like why advertisers should pull out of YouTube and stuff like that. And despite whatever their justification was for it that they presented to the public, the fact of the matter is a lot of the reason why they went so hard covering all of that and signal boosting all that stuff is because they wanted to financially harm a lot of the people who were succeeding on YouTube, because these Hollywood types really didn't like the fact that a lot of people were taking their time and attention away from Hollywood and instead watching videos on YouTube from independent creators. So it's a bit of an abstract thought. I'm not saying this is like one for one what happened in this situation, but you can clearly see based off all that precedent why industry types from Hollywood, these corpos and all that, would take umbrage with some independent dude, some young independent dude like Egan getting 1 million+ views on his indie animation and all this support and love for it. And they get really spiteful over things like that. And it's so negative and petty and unnecessary. But unfortunately, that's how a lot of these people act in the business. And when I say the business, I'm talking about Hollywood. So I'll leave it there. Once again, if you want to check out Egan's animation, you haven't seen it yet, I'll link it in the description. I also have his Twitter at there if you're on Twitter/X and you want to go check out his socials there and all that. As for the segment, yep, that's the end. Thank you so much once again for tuning in. See you in the comments and the next one.